Hi everybody, today I'm going to be introducing you to a new book we're going to be reading soon called Briar's Book, or in other parts of the world it's called The Healing in the Vine, because that's not a great title, but it is a book that we have in our library at Riverside, which is super cool. I did not have the foresight to grab it when I was last at the library, so I had to check it out from another public library in order to read it to you guys. And it's the fourth book in a series by Tamora Pierce called The Circle of Magic. Now, I want to read this book and you'll understand why, because it deals with a lot of the same things that you guys are dealing with right now with coronavirus and a plague and pandemics and things like that. So, I thought it might be fun to read about a fictional world and a magical world where they're dealing with a lot of the same problems, because I think we could really identify with some of the things that Briar and the other main characters are going through. So, but because this is the fourth book of a series, you need a little bit of background. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Um, so, The Circle of Magic is a book series published by Scholastic, written by Tamora Pierce, who wrote lots of really cool books about girls using swords and stuff like that. So, if you're into that kind of a thing, super fun books. Um, and it's about these four kids, so I'm going to introduce them to you. First of all, there's Sandraline Fatorin, Lady Sandraline. We call her Sandry. She is the great niece of the Duke who is ruling the land. So the Duke is in charge of Emelon, where they all live, and she is his great niece, so he's her great uncle. Uh, and she used to live in another country, and smallpox came through and killed a bunch of people, killed her parents, her nurse, and she ended up being stuck in a room where she was hiding from an angry mob. Um, and she was stuck in the dark in a small room, and she was scared of the dark, and she managed to pull light from her lantern that was running out of oil into some strings that she was using for embroidery. Um, and lo and behold, she has thread magic. So her magic is with the way that thread works. So sewing, weaving, spinning, knitting, all those things. That's where Sandry's magic is. Next, we meet Triss. Trissana Chandler is the daughter of a merchant family, so her family sells stuff to the rich people and the poor people and try to make money that way. Middle class. Um, but her family didn't like her very much and kept sending her around to go live with different aunts and uncles and stuff like that. Um, and Triss didn't like that very much. She's a little bit of a chubby, fiery redhead with a bit of a temper problem. And every time Triss gets mad, stuff happens with the weather. Like, lightning will strike a tree nearby, or it will randomly start hailing, or there's a little tiny earthquake. Well, we come to find out that Triss has magic with weather and the earth, which is super cool. But you gotta be careful, Triss, because if you get mad, you could start a lightning storm, and that's not great. Next, we meet Daja Kusubo. Daja Kusubo is part of a culture called the Traders. Now, what they do is they go around and they trade goods. So they're going to be selling to people like Triss's family, the merchants, and taking it from the people who create it to the people who are going to buy it. And so Daja's family is one of the kinds that that goes on ships. So they sail on a ship. Some traders walk on land in a big caravan, but hers sails on a big ship, and it's her whole family on this one big ship. And her mom's the captain and all that. Big storm comes, ship goes down, and Daja is the only one to survive. Now, trader culture is really superstitious, and there's a whole thing about that. But she survives only because she's able to pull a box of metal. A soroku is what it's called, and it's got different things for surviving the world, like fresh water and stuff in there, like a survival box, basically, that every ship has. And she's able to pull it towards her because it has metal in it. So, lo and behold, we find out that Daja has blacksmithing magic, or magic with metal. Last but not least, the main character of this story is Briar Moss. Now, Briar Moss was born, well, He grew up on the streets of Sotat, which is another place in our world here, and he was a street rat. He stole to survive. They called him Roach at first, so he was known as Roach for the first about 10 years of his life before he got to pick his name, and he picked Briar Moss um, because he likes plants. Uh, Lo and behold, we find out his magic is with plants. Surprise, surprise. Um, and yeah, so he was caught stealing twice, and every time they catch you stealing, they'll find you and tattoo an X, like right here on your hand. And if you have two X's on your hand when they catch you a third time, then they're like, yep, you're going to go to the docks and work there for about 5 years, and then you're probably going to die because it's such hard labor. So Briar's caught for a third time, or Roach is caught for a third time, and this guy named Niklar and Goldeye finds him, buys him off of the people who are going to make him work at the docks, and brings him back to Winding Circle, which is where our story takes place. That's a temple in Emelon. Basically, it's partly a school, partly like a church. It's a really nice community, basically. So Briar goes with him, picks his name, all that jazz, and finds out that he has plant magic. In the course of the first book, the kids adopt a giant puppy dog whom they named Little Bear. And then they get trapped underground in an earthquake. And in order to survive the earthquake, Sandry spins all their magics together so that they become stronger. Because one thread apart is weak, but together they're strong. So now they can like talk mind to mind in their heads. And yeah, super cool stuff. And then they go on to like fight pirates in the next book and deal with forest fires in the third book and all sorts of fun stuff. And then we get to Briar's book, which is the last book of this first set when they're little. There are more books about these four kids when they start growing up. So the next series is called The Circle Opens, and it's about the four of them like teaching new students. And then there's even more books about them and all that jazz. So I think that's enough background. Oh, I forgot to tell you about their teachers. Their teachers are super important. So all these kids end up at Winding Circle, where Nico takes Briar. And they end up living in a house called Discipline Cottage. And that's run by these two dedicates named Lark and Rosethorn, who are basically like their house moms. And so all four of them live in this cottage together. Lark starts teaching Sandry about spinning. Rosethorn teaches Briar about plants. Nico teaches Triss about stuff sometimes when he's not busy. He's very busy. And Daja meets a blacksmith mage called Frostpine who teaches her. So those are their main teachers who are in charge. There's also a dude called Dedicate Crane, and Rosethorn does not like Dedicate Crane, and Dedicate Crane does not like Rosethorn, but they have to work together sometimes. In the first book, Briar sees a little tiny like bonsai tree. It's called a shakan in the book, and that Crane has in his greenhouse, and he steals it because it was so sad. And he was like, the tree wanted me to take it. And so Crane is really mad at Briar and doesn't like him very much for stealing the tree, but Briar gets to keep it, and it's got a lot of really cool magic in it, so also good that, whatever, but still, they don't like that very much. So Dedicate Crane is kind of like a cranky dude who doesn't like Rosethorn or Briar very much, but he plays an important part in this book, so you're going to know the history of all that. And this book does a good job of kind of like filling you in on as you go. But that's a little intro to Briar's book. I'm going to start reading it in the next video, and I hope you enjoy.